Hey guys, so your girl's back. I just lit some sage. I cleared the energy. I cleared your energy. And yeah, so let's just get into it. So a couple days ago, I was just in my car and I was crashing out over like whatever. I was just getting triggered a lot. And I was listening to SZA's song Far, which I fucking love SZA. Me and SZA are like this. Every time I listen to her music, her discography, I hear a new lyric that really like makes me wonder and like realize things about myself and like realize my perceptions of the world. But anyway, so listening to SZA's song Far, and in the beginning of the song, SZA is talking about how she's going through a lot of rejection right now and she feels very small. And then in the intro, a man responds to her and a man goes, "Well, if nobody wants you, you're free." That one sentence, "if nobody wants you, you're free," kept echoing in my brain for weeks. And then finally, I got like really triggered one day. And so I journaled. I did some shadow work journaling because I was like, you know what? We're gonna dissect my triggers. And I dissected my trigger. And then in the middle of writing, I like had a realization. And I wrote, "Now that I've ruined everything, I'm so fucking free." So first it's now, if nobody wants you, you're free. And when you ruin everything, you feel free. I am a person who has pretty much been alone my entire life. Like, yeah, I had a lot of friends and I was really social, but I never actually met anyone who could do for me what I do for others. So I felt very like emotionally alone and emotionally neglected. I also never met anyone, even older people, even people who are much older than me, that had like my perspective on life and like my kind of like wisdom. Obviously, I'm young and I haven't experienced much, but I still have a lot of emotional intelligence, like much more emotional intelligence than other people. So I started thinking to myself, how the fuck did I get here to this point of like having this level of like wisdom, this level of emotional intelligence, this level of like nothing can hurt me because I use all the pain to fuel my soul. And so I was thinking, how the fuck did I get here? Because I wasn't always like this. Freshman year me could not spend a single moment soberly alone with myself, okay? I always needed noise. I always needed a show playing in the background. I needed to be FaceTiming someone. I needed music in my headphones all the time. Oh my god, I would listen to so much music. There was just never any thoughts. It was just, I was always consuming. If I was alone, I was high as fuck or drunk as fuck or on some kind of substance. So I wasn't even actually present in the moment, or I'm like scrolling or I was sleeping. All in all, just anything to avoid sitting soberly with my own thoughts, right? That was me a couple years ago. I was so lost. And at the time, I didn't want to be lost. I didn't want to continue to do all these bad habits. I knew I wanted to do better, but I was also so deep with all these terrible habits that my brain would constantly repeat to me, "What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing, Nika?" I would be scrolling on TikTok. It'd be 3 fucking p.m. Have my day, haven't even got out of bed. I woke up at like 10. I've been doom scrolling since 3. I've just been hitting my fucking pen. I haven't been doing shit. Haven't even gotten out of bed. And my brain would just repeat to myself, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I couldn't answer because I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I didn't know what was right for me. Now, looking back, I'm realizing something. It wasn't that I was scared of putting in the work to change. It was that I was so lost. The reason I couldn't answer the question of what the fuck am I doing is because I didn't know, and I didn't even know what I should be doing. Everything, there was no black or white, there was no gray. Everything was just a big mess, and I had no idea what to do. And so one day I asked myself, what am I actually lost in? Because for something to be lost, right, it has to exist first. Meaning, the real me was always somewhere inside of me. The real me was buried underneath all that distraction. It was buried underneath other people's opinions, the constant consumption, the fear, the performance, the noise, all these masks everyone puts on. It was just buried. And I was so lost because I was constantly fucking consuming. I genuinely think one of the biggest reasons people cannot find themselves anymore is because when they consume constantly, they begin to consume other people's thoughts before forming their own, right? When you are constantly on Pinterest, when you are constantly on TikTok, when you are constantly on whatever, you are consuming other people's aesthetics, opinions, music tastes, personalities, desires before you can even figure out what you want, right? We are constantly absorbing so much information every second that there's barely any room to hear ourselves think. I was on FaceTime with my best friend the other day, and my best friend was talking to me, and she was like, I just feel so incredibly lost right now. I feel so incredibly lost and I don't know what I'm doing. And I could tell that she had lost herself, like even before she realized. I had like noticed that she was like losing certain parts of herself, but I didn't interfere because everyone has their own journey. And I've kind of realized that, and this is kind of a sidetrack, but if you know someone that you love that is like falling in the trenches or is in like deep in rock bottom or whatever, be there to support them, but do not try to change them. They need to enter the deepest depths of like darkness so that they can bring themselves to change themselves. Don't say anything and let them learn the lessons for themselves. Because the thing about people is that we don't really listen to talk. We answer to experience, right? Like no matter how much you tell a friend, like, oh, your boyfriend isn't the best person for you, what's the most common reaction? The friend is going to distance from you and get closer to the boyfriend because they have like these rose-colored glasses on. But if you just sit there and you distance yourself and you allow your friend to go down the hole and learn the lesson for themselves, not only will they grow because they learned it themselves and it's like not someone was coddling them, but now they have strength so that this situation doesn't happen again. So you're actually doing people more of a favor when you give them room to grow themselves rather than trying to force them to like sprout. So anyway, sorry for the backtrack, but the reason I was bringing up my best friend is because she was telling me how she was feeling extremely lost. And then a couple days later, we were on FaceTime and she was like, Nika, I don't know what to do. I cannot be alone. I hate being alone. I can't stand being alone. I don't like being alone in my own head. And then she told me, she was like, you know what? I need to work on self-love. I need to learn how to love myself, and I'm going to pour into myself and I'm going to do affirmations and da-da-da. And that really got me thinking. See, this is the problem. Society has taken the calculation of like a person's fear of being alone or a person's need to be wanted with a lack of self-love. Let me pose this to you guys. Let me pose a new question. What if it's not the fact that you have a lack of self-love, but you have a lack of self-knowing? Because in order to love thyself, you need to know thyself. You need to know the parts of you that you want to love. So the problem with me freshman year, the problem with whatever, I wasn't lost because I didn't love myself. First of all, I didn't love myself because I was lost. And I was lost because I was so focused on loving myself. It was like a vicious thing. When I finally stopped consuming so much and I gave my brain room to create, when I deleted TikTok and I deleted Instagram for like a year and I tried to lower my screen time as much as I could, my mind started creating again, okay? And I want you guys to think about when you were a child, right? When you were a little kid and you didn't have any toys, what the fuck did you do? You invented worlds, right? You created imaginary friends, you did role plays. Your mind generated magic naturally, okay? And as adults, we still have this talent of being able to have extreme creativity and extreme imagination, but it's tainted because instead of creating our own worlds, we scroll through everyone else's and we're so focused on perfection that we overdo it. And the thing about being lost, it doesn't always feel so terrible. Like some people don't even know that they're lost. Being lost isn't always like being extremely fucking depressed and like losing your mind all the time. Being lost can also be just like feeling disconnected from your own life, never knowing what you truly want, saying yes to plans without even thinking because you're just like used to thinking of them, not even thinking, am I actually going to enjoy doing this? I think a lot of people are scared of being alone because when a room finally gets quiet, you meet yourself, right? But the thing is, if you do not recognize yourself, you will be scared because humans, we are naturally scared of the unknown. It's either you're scared of the unknown or you're curious about it, but there's still a little bit of like lingering fear. So if you are lost and you don't know yourself, obviously you don't want to sit in silence and you don't want to be alone because you don't even recognize who you are. You will not be alone with you. You're going to be alone with a stranger, and that's scary. The thing that changed my life for the better was realizing that psychologically, most humans barely live in the present. Either your thoughts are constantly running and you're like, what am I gonna do next? What am I gonna do next? Not even focusing on the now. Either you're constantly thinking about the future, you're constantly thinking about the past, or you're not even like here and you're just like mentally shut off and you're just in survival mode. But the thing is, the past is gone. Okay, you know what? We're gonna get into a little rant. Time in and of itself is not fucking real. And before I like sound schizophrenic and crazy, let me just run this down for you guys. The past is gone. Okay, the past does not exist. It is not a real thing anymore because it has already passed. What exists is the way it affects you. What exists is the imprint that it had on your subconscious, the imprint that it had on your mind, okay? That's what exists of the past. But the actual event that happened, it's past and it's gone. You cannot enter it again physically. And then you think about the future, okay? A lot of people cannot be in the present moment because they are so stuck on thinking of the future 5 years from now, 2 years from now, tomorrow, What if I told you something? The future and present are the exact same thing. The future is happening at the exact same time that the present is happening. The exact same time. The future is always being built by what you are doing right now. If I choose to put my hand over that candle for the first few seconds, I know that in my fucking future, I'm gonna have a burn on my finger. Does that make sense? Easy peasy, you know? So 5 years from now isn't some separate dimension waiting for you. It's literally a collection of today's stitched together. So stop focusing on what your future has to look like and focus on what the next hour is supposed to look like. Don't even focus on what you're going to do tomorrow. Like obviously have a rundown of the plan, but don't stress about tomorrow. The only thing that you should be, first of all, you shouldn't be stressing, but if you're going to stress, you need to be stressing about now, the next hour, the night, not tomorrow, not a year from now. Every future version of you is created in a present moment. So if you want peace 5 years from now, you have to create peace in smaller forms today and implement those patterns into your life. And the thing is, people who stress about the future, they think that they're scared of the future. You are not scared of the future. You are scared of repeating the past. And another thing, nothing is promised except the moment that you're currently inside of. You do not know if you are going to be breathing tomorrow. So one thing that genuinely helped me reconnect with myself was becoming mindful of the present moment. That's how I found myself again, through mindfulness. And so how did I do that? Okay, there were a couple of different ways. The first thing that really helped me was something that I found online, which is called a mindfulness walk. And this is basically where you will like go on a walk with no phone, no music, no distractions. You go on a walk and before your walk, you set a goal. Usually the goals for my walks would be, I would pick a color, like pink, because I lived in like a really pretty like country club garden. It had gardens and shit. I would pick a color like orange, pink, blue, whatever. And I'd be like, I am going to walk, and as I walk, I'm going to point out every single blue thing that I see, every single orange thing that I see. And this sounds really small and it sounds really stupid and childish, but it forces your brain to be in the present moment, and it makes you see things differently. I like noticed things that I'd never noticed before, and they gave me ideas. And it just gives you a moment to stop mentally time traveling for a second so that you can actually see the world again. And another thing that I started doing was something called mindfulness eating, because my mom would always comment on my eating habits, because when I would get a meal, I would basically like scarf it down in like 5 fucking seconds, and I wouldn't even actually taste what the fuck I ate. I would just be like eating like a fucking animal. Like, okay, the visual wasn't like that wasn't the visual, but like I was a fast eater, and I would like basically inhale my food. Someone asked me one day, they were like, what did you eat today? And I was like, I have no fucking clue, because I wasn't mentally present in the moment. And I was like, you know what? I want to be more mentally present in the moment. So what I started doing is I stopped eating while being on my phone. I stopped eating while watching a show. I stopped eating while scrolling. I mean, now I do eat while watching a show and stuff, but like for like a week or so, I did that to implement like good mindfulness habits. I started cooking my food slowly, sitting with it, appreciating it. I would basically finish cooking my food. I would set it on the table. I would look at it. I would breathe in the scent. I'd like really understand what my food smelled like. After, I would repeat a small affirmation or a mantra, and like usually I'd say something like, bless this food and bless my body for receiving it. But if you're like religious or whatever, you know, say a prayer. It's the same thing. And then while I would eat, I would actually taste what I was eating. I would take small, slow bites. And I know that sounds so fucking obvious. Like, this girl is giving us a tutorial on how to eat, but it's very different. Because when you mindfully eat, like I'm telling you, like literally close your eyes and reenact the scene in Ratatouille with like the swirling colors or whatever. I want you to literally like feel the fucking food. Because so many people are so disconnected from normal experiences like eating food. When I started doing mindful eating, I'm not even kidding. I felt so much more fueled by the food, and I just had so much more of an appreciation. I was fucking excited to eat. That was something I looked forward to in the day. Another thing that I did to help with my mindfulness was that I started doing something called a mindfulness journal. So basically, I would open up the journal in the morning and I would write down the date. And then I would put down like a mantra that I wanted to follow for that day. And then a good omen. So for example, like yesterday, I wrote, speak slower because I talk very, very fast. So yesterday I wrote down speak slower, and then my good omen was an orange car, right? So what does this mean? It means every single time I see an orange car, it's gonna remind me to speak slower. And it's also, even though maybe this has no correlation, but in my brain, I said, if I see an orange car, it means that the universe is looking out for me. It means that love is constantly vibrating towards me. So whenever I would see an orange car, I would feel better. Your omen could also be something like butterflies, the number 11, a heart, anything heart-shaped, whatever. And I just, having this mantra, and my mantra of like speak slower, like when I would be in instances where I would be talking really fast or I'd be stressed, I'd take a second, I'd take a deep breath and I'd be like, speak slower, Nika, speak slower. And I would be in the present moment. I would look at my surroundings. I would really take them in, and it would just pull me back into the moment. I was driving to work yesterday and I was so fucking stressed because I was late. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like driving, and I have a very beautiful scenic route to work. And then I took a second and I was like, be calmer, speak slower. And I stepped back and I took a deep breath, and then I looked around and I was like, you know what? I am late. I'm going to be late. So why be late with stress when I could just be late and carefree? I started looking at the beautiful scenery in front of me, and as I was sitting there, once again, that saying, if nobody wants you, you're free. And it hit me. When nobody wants you, you are free from performing, you are free from trying to be digestible, and you are free from constantly shaping yourself around what other people expect from you. Because when nobody is watching, you finally get to discover who you actually are. Once again, I truly feel like people have misunderstood self-love completely. Self-love is not staring in the mirror, facing yourself and being like, I am beautiful. Self-love is knowing yourself deeply. Self-love is knowing what drains you, knowing what uplifts you, knowing your boundaries so fucking well that you don't even feel guilty to say no, knowing when you'd rather stay home and create art than go somewhere that makes you feel empty. Self-love is discernment. Self-love is knowing yourself so well that from the moment you meet someone, you're not forcing it to work and you're like, actually, I'm probably not gonna end up fucking with you because your personality is like this, or oh, I actually really, really enjoy you because you're like this. It's building a life that actually fits your soul instead of performing a life that looks good online. Okay? And I have reached a level in my life from a girl who used to be kind of a people pleaser, and everyone always talks about people pleasers. They're like, oh, people pleasers lack self-love. They don't lack self-love. They don't lack self-worth. They lack self. They don't even know who they are. That's why they're bending their backs over for everyone else, because they can't even bend their back over for themselves because they don't know what they like. They don't know what they want. They don't speak it. They're not in tune with it. In my past, I was not as like whatever as I am now. Before, when I was in freshman year, I was constantly consuming, never creating. I was constantly doing things that I didn't actually want to do, and I didn't realize that I didn't want to do them until after. Have you ever like gone to a hangout and you said yes to a hangout without thinking, and then you're at the hangout and you're like, fuck, I really wish I was home. I would have enjoyed it more if I was home. If you knew yourself well enough, you would have never gone to that hangout in the first place. That type of scenario has not happened to me in months. The other day, my closest friend, who usually I do anything for, she texts me and she's like, hey, can you please come? Can you please come? Da, da, da. And I was like, you know what? To be honest with you, right now, I would so much rather sit at home and write. I would so much rather sit at home and try to make this song than hang out with anyone. That's what's gonna make me happy. So I just simply didn't do it. And I felt great. And I didn't feel any regret. I didn't feel any FOMO because I knew what I wanted because I knew myself and I had found myself. So another thing I did to help with my mindfulness was that I started meditating every day and every night. I have been meditating every single morning from the moment I wake up and every single night when I'm about to go to bed since February. And what is it? It's almost June now. So you do the math. You know, it's been quite a lot of months. Here's the thing. A lot of people say like, "Oh, I meditated for so long and I became a new person." Here's my thing. Meditation does not turn you into a new person. It helps you remember who you were. Meditation did not make me a new woman. It made me remember who the fuck I am. And when I say I remember, I mean I started remembering who I was before the world overwhelmed me, okay? Before my brain felt like 10 radio stations playing at the same time. Prior to me meditating, my thoughts would go like this. I don't know why I just fucking harmonized. My thoughts would go like this and like this and like hop and like this was my brain. Okay, this was my brain. After I started, while I was meditating, it started going like, I don't know what the fuck that visual was. Anyway, my thoughts now go like this. One by one by one. They don't overlap. There is no constant noise. There is no constant panic. There is no constant stimulation. Okay? Because after months of mindfulness, my thoughts started arriving one at a time again. Okay? They started arriving quietly. They started arriving naturally, just like they did when I was a child. That's why I say you remember who you were. That's how your thoughts were as a kid. That you would just be playful with your thoughts. Your thoughts had no fucking meaning. You would just aimlessly think and go through a stream of consciousness. This is when your ideas would come in. So meditation has helped me become so much more childlike, so much more playful with life. And here's the thing, people need to be very, very playful with life. When you stop taking life seriously is when you genuinely enter like a flow state. Aside from me remembering who I am, I would also constantly get flashbacks of my childhood, which would help me remember things that I liked or give me inspiration. And it was just good things to remember, because a lot of people, when they think of their childhoods, they can't really remember much of the good memories. It's more what like traumatized you. But when you start meditating and then you start getting flashbacks of like those memories that made you really happy, the little inner child in you like lights up again. Also, with my meditations, another thing that happened was that I became so fucking intuitive. I already believe that all humans have like psychicness to some extent, especially women. We're very intuitive. All humans are psychic a little bit, but what I mean by psychic, let me just break this down really quick. Obviously, like, I mean, I do genuinely believe that like I can see the future and I get like visions of it, but like some people might be hearing this and they're gonna be like, powers are not real. What do you mean psychic? Psychics are not real. That's all bullshit. Well, let me just explain it to you in like a scientific way so now you can understand it. When you are extremely in tune with the present, when you are meditating constantly, and you are constantly in the present moment, you are so in tune with your body and with your vibration and what you want. You know exactly what you want. You know who you are, you're in the present moment, and you know what you want. The reason that you can intuitively feel what's going to happen is because you are on the same vibration of what's going to happen. Because what did I just explain earlier? The present and the future are the exact same thing. If you are like this with your present, whatever you are actively embodying in your present becomes your future. That's what quantum leaping is, but it's not this like big crazy thing. It's literally just like you become what you want to be in the present, so obviously you're going to be it in the future. If I work on my dream every single day now, and I have the confidence as though I'm already like famous or whatever, I'm still going to have that confidence tomorrow, and it's going to ride with me through life, and I'm going to be on the vibration of like what deserves that confidence. The more present I became, the more I noticed, right? I noticed energy shifts, I noticed patterns, I noticed feelings, dreams, whatever, and I became deeply connected to myself. And everyone has this ability, right? Everyone has a little bit of like psychic intuitive ability. It's just in human beings to be intuitive, but most people are not tapped in with it because they can't hear themselves, because their inner voice is buried underneath constant stimulation and distraction. When I became more mindful and when I finally found myself, that is when I finally understood the line. If nobody wants you, you are free. Because when nobody wants something from you, there's no pressure to perform anymore. There's no pressure to become digestible. There's no pressure to constantly explain yourself. There's no pressure to shape shift into whatever makes other people comfortable. You finally get space to hear your own thoughts and be your own person. And I think people who constantly seek attention are often trying to fill a void within themselves, right? People who constantly need to be with someone, need to be loved by someone, people who constantly want to be wanted, it's because they want purpose. They don't see themselves, they don't know themselves, so they want other people to see them. They want proof that they matter because they don't know if they matter to themselves because they don't know themselves. It's not necessarily a lack of self-love. But what they don't realize is that you don't need anybody to see you or need you. Just because you live in your body every single day does not mean that you know yourself. You are still a discovery. You can still be curious about yourself and what you like and what your needs are, because people are also forever changing, you know? So what people don't realize is that you already have yourself. And if you have yourself, you have everything. So if you feel lost right now, stop trying to become someone new and remove all the noise long enough until you remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Because the cure for emptiness is not more attention, it's intimacy with yourself. And I want you to realize this. Maybe solitude was never your punishment, you know? Maybe it was freedom the entire time. Anyways, thank you for listening. Hope this helped.